Call the Wednesday, January 24th, Park Board meeting into order. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. They moved it this way. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Want to give the roll call?
Yeah. Mike Moffett,
Here.
Mary Therese Roberts,
Here.
Stephanie Kriesbaum,
Here.
and Pat Conley.
All right. Election of officers. Does it matter when we start with, or we start with the president, right? Usually.
Right.
All right, we'll start with, anybody want to nominate for the election of officers for the president?
I nominate Mike Moffett for president.
I second that.
Well, we have a nomination on the floor. Anybody else have any nominations? All right, well, we have one nomination. Make a motion. How do they do that?
You can close the nominations and then take a vote.
All right, we'll close the nominations. We'll take a vote for Mike Moffett as president. We'll do it by roll call.
Pat Conley,
Aye.
Mary Therese Roberts,
Aye.
Stephanie Kriesbaum,
Aye.
Mike Moffett.
Yes. For vice president. Anyone want to nominate anybody for vice president?
I nominate Pat Conley.
Any other nominations? We'll close the floor to nominations. We'll go ahead and have a roll call for vice president.
Mike Moffett,
Yes.
Mary Therese Roberts,
Yes.
Stephanie Kriesbaum,
Yes.
Pat Conley.
Yes, thank you.
If you guys all had the minutes, next one's the approval of minutes. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes as posted from December 20th, 2023.
Looking for a motion for that.
I then make a motion to approve the minutes from December 20th, 2023.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of the motion, signify with an aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an A, and it's carried. Old business. Consider the approval of the professional services agreement with American Structure Point for the 5-year Parks and Recreational Master Plan for a total amount not to exceed $40,000, and authorize the town manager to execute the same. This agreement was previously approved at the September Park Board meeting, but the agreement was never executed. You have any comment on that?
I do not.
Mr. Billy, do you have any comments on that?
I don't have anything unless one of you have a question. Mr. Kennedy is here that can answer if you have a specific.
So basically, this was all approved.
This was approved.
It just wasn't
wasn't executed
properly.
by the last board.
Okay, voted, okay.
John Kennedy with American Structure Point. Congratulations on your appointment and election to officers. Yes, it was approved in September, went for legal review, and it just never got back for authorization for the Park Board president to sign. But everything is the same as what it was, the fee and the scope of work is all still the same as what was discussed in September.
Are you in favor with this? Were you able to look over this? 'Cause I
Yes,
remember the last board, we were in favor of it.
Yes, I met with Mr. Kennedy via Zoom. We went over some questions that I had, and also with Matt.
Matt O'Rourke, who would be one of the team leaders on this project. And Billy, I believe this has been reviewed by the current town attorney, and that has also been, he's authorized approval as well.
All right, so we'd like to entertain a motion to approve the service agreement with American Structure Point with favorable recommendation from our town manager. Somebody like to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to consider the approval of professional service agreement with American Structure Point for the 5-year parks plan for the total amount not to exceed $40,000.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Ms. Kreisbaum with a second. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of the motion signify with an aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? And it's carried. New business. Letter A, consider approval of professional services agreement with Baker Tilly to serve as the financial advisor for the Park and Recreational Board for the year 2024. Mr. Monopoulos, want to explain this? Should I stuck with Billy?
Yeah,
All right,
there we go.
perfect, perfect.
So Baker Tilly obviously works with different, with ourselves, the town council, and different boards within the town. And we're looking to keep them aboard with you guys just to keep everything on the level.
So entertain a motion to consider the approval of the professional services agreement with Baker Tilly to serve as the financial advisor for the Park and Recreational Board for 2024.
I'll make a motion to consider approval for professional services agreement with Baker Tilly to serve as a financial advisor for the Park and Recreation Board for the year 2024.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mary Roberts with the second. We have a motion on the floor. All in favor signify with an aye.
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 Opposed with an A. And it's carried. I'll get this figured out eventually. That was Baker Tilly, correct? So letter B. Consider approval of professional services agreement with Robinson Engineering to serve as engineers for the Park and Recreational Board for the year 2024. Billy?
So again, Robinson is our town engineer. We work with them through our water board, our sanitary board. We're bringing them on board because of the future of the Parks Department and ideas and plans that we're gonna be rolling out, part of it today and into the future.
I'd like to entertain a motion to consider the approval of professional services agreement with Robinson Engineering LTD to serve as engineers for the Park and Recreational Board for the year 2024.
I'll make a motion to consider approval of professional services agreement with Robinson's Engineering LTD to serve as engineers for the Park and Recreation Board for the year 2024.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the service agreement signify with an aye.
Aye.
Those opposed with an A. And that's carried. Next one, C. Consider recommendations to the town council to authorize Robinson Engineering to prepare bid documents related to the Gates Park and authorize bidding of the same. Would you like to go into detail, Billy?
Yeah, so on this portion for the big documents that they're gonna put out for us, it is for the completion of the skate park, which includes the benches and the lighting, and also the pickleball courts. The rest of the plans that we have in front of us will be done in phases as we can.
It brings before, do we have any discussion on this, the board?
No.
All right. I'd like to entertain a motion to consider the recommendation to the town council to authorize Robinson Engineering to prepare the bid documents related to the Gates Park and authorize bidding of the same.
I'll make a motion to consider recommendation of the town council to authorize Robinson Engineering to prepare bid documents related to the Gates Park and authorize bidding of the same.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor of this motion signify with an aye.
Aye.
And opposed with an A. And it's carried. Letter D, consider approval of concerts in the park agreements for the Mud Sharks, Ultimate British Invasion, Oscar and the Majestics, Mark Wydra, and the 51 Lincolns. Do we want to just vote all of them at the same time, or do you want to do
So
them
we can do them
individually?
all at the same time, just for the board's information. These bands have already been confirmed for these dates, and you're just approving their contracts.
Do we have any other discussion or any issues with that?
Not at this time.
All right. I'd like to entertain a motion to consider the approval of concerts in the park agreements for the Mud Sharks, Ultimate British Invasion, Oscar and the Majestics, Mark Wydra, and 51 Lincoln.
Open for a motion.
I'll motion to consider approval of concerts in the park agreements for the Mud Sharks, Ultimate British Invasion, Oscar and the Majestics, Mark Wydra, and 51 Lincoln.
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor of this motion signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an A. And it's carried. E, consider agreement with Steve Trout for the youth baseball camps, June through August of 2024. Billy, you want to?
Yeah, so in your package, you'll find last year's agreement with Mr. Trout. He is out of the country. He has communicated that the agreement will remain the same, and the terms will remain the same as last year.
How much was that per student?
I think we could,
I was just curious.
50, I believe.
It's in the packet.
I believe it was 50.
I know, I looked at it, I
It
forgot.
was, the half-day option was 100 per week, and then the full-day option was 150 per week.
Let's see, I don't know how much we're getting.
What are we getting out of that? Just curious what the cut is, or,
The percentage?
yeah.
I could pull that from the contract line and have that for you.
Looks like it's 80/20, so we'd be getting 20%. Right when you said that, I opened up that page.
I did
I
open
I
it
know,
to that.
I had seen it somewhere.
Contractor, and yes, it looks like it's 80/20. I was just curious. We have any other discussion on the Steve Trout program? Any other discussion? I'd like to entertain a motion to consider the agreement with Steve Trout for the youth baseball camps, June through August 2024.
I'll make a motion to consider agreement with Steve Trout for the youth baseball camps, June through August 2024.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of this motion signify with an aye.
Aye.
All opposed with an A. And it's carried 4-0. Next one on the list, F. Consider the approval of the 2024 landscape agreement with Great Lakes Landscaping. Billy?
So Great Lakes is our current provider for this service. There was a bid put out last year. They were the only respondents to the bid. Inside their contract, there was language where we could extend it for 2 more years. I know the decision of this board is to go yearly and check things out as things change. So we're asking for a 1-year extension with Great Lakes.
You said that we've been using, these are the same ones we've been using for a few years.
Yes.
We haven't had any issues that, I haven't heard any. I've been in there
None
a
that
few
been
years. and I've-
communicated to me,
Right,
so.
so, let's say it's with favorable recommendations. I'd like to entertain a motion to consider the approval of the 2024 landscaping agreement with Great Lakes Landscaping.
I'll motion to consider approval of 2024 landscaping agreement with Great Lakes Landscaping.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. All in favor of this motion signify with an aye.
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 Opposed with an A. And it's carried. Letter G, consider the approval of waiving the 2024 farmers market vendor fee for local farmers only. Billy?
So while we're trying to promote this as a traditional farmer's market, we did call some neighboring towns and to find out how they've enticed people to come. And they've had some luck with these smaller local farmers by waiving their fee.
Is this like new or is this, like we didn't do this before? It's like a
No.
new thing to offer? Okay.
And again, it's the local market, farmers, not just someone who would, you know, run to the grocery store, buy some produce and just
Trying to
resell it.
make a couple bucks off of it.
I just have a question, Billy. Where exactly are they going to have it this year? Because it used to be by the bank on 41, but then they transferred it to Lake Central High School. Is
So-
it going to go back there?
So that'll be on the next item for discussion.
Okay.
So once we get past G, we can discuss it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so the farmer's market vending fee, waiving the vendor's fee. Does anybody have a discussion on that amongst us?
Waiving the local farmer.
For farmers.
For local farmers, correct. No other discussion on that? All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to consider approval of waiving the 2024 farmer's market vendor fee for local farmers only. Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to consider the approval of waiving the 2024 market vendors fee for local farmers only.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an A. And it's carried. H, discussion on farmer's market location. Billy?
So inside your package, you had two sites that we've used in the past. The most recent being Lake Central and the prior being the Community Outpatient Center. We contacted a majority of the vendors that we had on file, and they gave us our preferences. They gave us a little bit of pros and cons for your review. So after you go over those, I mean, you can either have the discussion now, look over it, and we can solidify a place. We can call either one that you guys would like to see.
I have a question on
Yes.
that. So when Lake Central, that was the first year, last year
I believe, yes, it was.
Correct.
from the move. So my understanding from what I read, they can fit more vendors at the high school. Is the high school making the town pay for the farmer's market to be there?
So there is an agreement, and I am working in the process of getting it. There was, how can I put it, a little bit of a block coming in, being able to retrieve some of that information. We're in the process now of having our IT, department IT company, retrieve those documents.
Yeah.
And then I can get that for you.
And then they allowed the bathrooms for use. So was it one of those out porta potties, or did they let that people go in the school and all that?
No, those were indoor, at the community center, or community outpatient center, was where the porta pots were.
The porta pots were at the outpatient.
Yeah,
At Lake Central, they were using, I believe it was
In-
the soccer concessions area.
over there,
I
yeah.
believe it was over in that area.
Okay,
And it's, we brought them in last year,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of thought they wanted to stay at Lake Central.
Mm-hmm.
There were pros and cons, obviously, with anything.
right.
Some of the uneven areas, because if you're over there, if you have any kind of liquids in those trucks that they have,
Yeah.
it's hard to level them off, it's hard to serve their food, so there were issues with that.
Yeah,
Up and down the hill, 'cause there's a hill, there are people, some of the elderly people were having a hard time getting up and down the hill, but they loved the bathrooms. They thought
Mm-hmm. Right.
that was like the greatest thing.
right.
So it seemed
That it was a plus.
in that meeting that we had, it was a plus. There was a general loss of money that year because they lost their regular customers, the ones that come every year. And so that was an issue, but they think they could recoup that.
It will come back
by-
as,
So
having it there
that was our
longer.
decision to try it again, or to finish it there last year.
right,
So it's kind of,
up in the air.
I really don't have a recommendation. I don't know what you guys, is anybody thinking anything different, Billy, or?
Well, I can say about thinking anything different, obviously, it's up to you. If you guys would like to take, a little bit of time to look over everything and weigh it, a little bit more in depth, we can.
I think it'd be a good idea. That way we would know what are we paying at Munster and what are we paying at Lake Central. You know, because that I don't know, and I do believe we pay something, because I know they have maintenance people that clean the bathrooms at Lake Central, because I know they come in and they were awesome, like keeping it, you know,
Right.
stocked with everything.
So you want to make a motion to table it till next meeting?
I think that
We'll
would,
have
I think
them
that would be a
all
good
filled.
idea, because then we'll have a little more of the
Yeah.
information.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
fine.
that's a good idea.
So, I'd like to make a motion to table the answer if we're going to have the farmer's market at Lake Central High School or the Community Outpatient Research Center.
We have a motion on the floor to table the, to table the farmer's market location. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor signify with an aye of tabling this.
Aye.
Opposed with an A. And we will discuss that next month. Number 8, reports and correspondence. First one is A, board members. Anybody have anything? Want to start, Pat? You have anything to discuss of being a new board member?
I do not. I'm just glad to be back. Thank you.
Myself, I think it's my 4th year, and technically it's the 4th different board that I've been on since in 4 years. So it's been interesting for sure. I enjoy it. I'm in it. My son played baseball for St. John Youth Baseball. That's what got me in. That's what got me, you know, I was the field maintenance manager for about 4 years there at St. John Baseball. So that was the reason I started getting into the parks. When I came in, they're like, well, you're worried you're going to be all baseball. I'm like, well, I will be.
Right.
But now that I've gotten into it, I've really gotten to like everything else. The Gates skate park was one of my big things that I pushed big time, and I think that's turned out great. So I'm here because I want to see this stuff get bigger and better, and
Right.
I want to put us on the map. When we did the skate park, I don't want it to be just a regular skate park. I want it to be a beautiful, nice skate park.
Right.
So that's kind of, you know, why I'm here and why, you know, I'm still here.
And, I mean, if you've driven by it or, you know, the kids have gone to it, it's been quite a success. So the little additions of the light and the benches will complement it pretty well.
Right. Definitely. Definitely.
And with all that, like Mike said, my thing was to bring in the kids of St. John to stay here in St. John. Because if they want to play soccer, they go to Schererville, you know, they want to go different places. Right,
Yeah.
they go to Dye or whatever. So, I mean, St. John should have, you know, a lot more activities for the children to participate in.
Right. And it's not just little kids, it's
Right.
of all ages, even through high school.
Well, that was our whole big thing when we did the skate park. There was guys showing up here in their 30s, 40s, 50s saying, you know, we're not the punks. You know, we're going to make sure everything's good and it's
Right.
going to be copacetic and everything. So, I mean, that's good. It should be a well-rounded community.
Yeah, I agree.
I have nothing at this time.
No, I don't.
I know they had some questions about like the baseball and all that stuff. Billy, is there a way like we could talk about that like amongst ourselves? Like 'cause I know we can't have more than 2 of us. Like, is there? Because they don't know anything. They're like, we're coming to this totally blind. Like, you know, like
Right.
that's one of the issues. And it's like, I mean, I don't think this is really the right time on.
Yeah, I mean,
this
to
time, but-
spring it on them, Bill, but we can put on the next agenda. That is also an item that I am digging into. I know it was a little bit of a hot topic with the last board. So hopefully we move forward and come to a decision.
All right. Because I know me personally, I was always like, I don't know why we're even visiting this. Everything was going fine. It wasn't an issue. I know they kind of changed some stuff over there, which got a couple people upset, and all of a sudden they wanted to change everything. I think we spent thousands. We're spending about $1,500 to $2,000 a month on lawyer fees, I think, just by me looking at it. I'm not positive.
And I think, you know, you've obviously been intimately involved with it. That'll be a good resource to, you know, to present to everyone else and to myself. And then we can move forward in a positive note from there.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Anything else from the board?
No, sir.
Town staff. We don't have a liaison. Do we have any town staff? I guess anybody in the town. Town employees. Town manager.
So I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to serve the residents here in St. John. I know Pat and Mike have been on this board before. Mary Therese and Stephanie are very excited to get to work, and I'm excited to get to work with all of you. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. Number 9, Payments on the bill. Entertain a motion to pay the January bills. I'll just read it. The accounts payable voucher dated January 24th, 2024, representing payment for payroll, supplies, services, and equipment rendered to the Park and Recreational Board for the town of St. John, and a combination of $39,786.65. I don't know if you guys noticed it. Usually looks like this sheet. It's kind of just a basic breakdown of where our money goes for that month. And the bottom is where it's $39,786.65. So someone like to make a motion to pay the bills?
I'm sorry, could you say the price again? 39,786.65?
And 65 cents, correct.
So 39,780,
It's on the
65 cents.
backside. Flip that over.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like to make a motion to pay the bills for $39,786.65.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of this motion signify with an aye.
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 Mr. President, before we go to public comment, we do have Dave Schilling from Robinson Engineering. And in my haste, I skipped them over while the park drawings were up there. So I was hoping Angela can go back and Dave can run it down a little bit for us.
Is this for the gates?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I knew he was here too, and I totally forgot. You have to excuse me, I'm a little nervous.
No problem. Dave Schilling, Robinson Engineering. The phase one of the project was awarded in November or December. That should be starting construction in April if the weather supports it. That is the walking path that was partially paid for by a CDBG grant from the county. So what you've authorized today is us to kind of finish working out the details for the pickleball courts, the shelter, some benches, and lighting and some more benches at the skate park. So we'll go back to the office, we'll start making those adjustments. You're looking at about $1.5 million for those improvements. And then phase three, whenever the town's ready for that one, would be the rehabilitation with the two fields in the middle with, the special sports grade sand and soil and grass. But yeah, that's the gist of it.
And you might not remember, but I know we talked about the field and the grade and all that, like at our last meeting or so. Nothing's going with that yet then.
No,
Okay,
well, there'll be some grading outside of the path area just to make sure if the path finishes first, we're not going to be causing ponding and puddles. We got to make sure everything flows. But in general, there will be no mass grading for the football, soccer fields.
And before I ask the question, nobody had a great answer, is when we go to put all this in with the pickleball courts and grading and everything, what will that do to the bike path? Is that going to destroy it, or are we going to have to repair parts of it, or?
There might be, a 10, 12-foot section that they'd have to track over or something like that. We could use mats, or spend a couple thousand maybe to repair it. But in general, no, we wouldn't be destroying the whole path. I think we could do a good job of making sure it's protected.
So in your opinion, to go ahead and get the bike path done, because I know we had grants on it or something, and that's what we're trying to get through on it.
The bike path is good to go. Like I said, depending on the final design for everything else, we might have to make a couple grading changes here and there just to make sure all the phases work independently. But in general, the path is good to go. We're actually just waiting for the contracts to come back from Site Services contractor, and we can set up a pre-construction meeting and try to get them moving.
You guys have any other questions? This is basically the project. I mean, you guys know what's out there. And in the past, it seems like we kept varying away, hitting different things where it's. I'd like to be more
and that's
focused
why
and let's
we're
get this.
probably 6 months behind where we kind of wanted to be, just because the scope kept kind of changing. So now that we have a defined scope, we're gonna hit it hard and get it built this year.
You have anything else, Billy? right, thank you. Sorry,
Thank
I
you.
forgot you earlier.
No problem.
Thanks, Dave.
We did payment of bills, correct?
Yes.
Did we finish that motion? I was gonna say, I thought we were right in a minute, okay. We have a motion on the floor by Pat to accept the bills as posted. We have a second by Mary. All in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an nay. And it's carried. Number 10, public comment. Do we have any public comment? Nobody? Anybody else for public comment? Anybody else have anything?
Recognize Councilman Oster is in attendance, Angela Mendez from the town manager's office,
All right,
and something else.
welcome.
And Wayne behind the podium over there. I didn't see him. I knew he was here. I didn't see him sitting back there. My favorite, Kathy.
Yes.
Yes.
In the pickleball, how many courts are there?
So it'd be 8 courts.
It was just up there. There they are. Those are to your left side. It's like you see the parking lot, and there's the part there with the arrows on it. Right there, the arrows are on it.
Okay, yeah.
And each one of those has 2 in it. So I want to thank Mr. Pondinas, Ms. Oster, and Angela. I'm getting to know everybody, so a little slow. Anybody else?
And we did Kathy back there. Kathy, hi.
Hello.
I don't think you heard me. All right.
All right, here we
That's
go.
it.
All right.
All right.
I'd like to entertain a motion for adjournment. Anybody?
Motion for adjournment.
Mary makes the motion to adjourn. We have a second.
I second.
Pat with the second. All in favor to adjourn, signify with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed with an A.